After you got hit in the eye when you walked off the court, you flipped off the fans, it looked like. What was going through your mind?
If you're gonna boot somebody who get elbowed in the eye and face running on blood, you should get flipped off. So I'll take the fine, I'll go do an appearance and make up the money. But it felt really good to flip them off. If you're gonna boot someone that get elbowed in the eye and blood running down your face, I could have had a concussion or anything. So if they're gonna be that nasty, I can be nasty too. And I'm assuming the cheers was because they know I'll get fined. Great, I make $25 million a year, I should be just fine.
Talk to him, Draymond. The NBA playoffs are well underway. It's my favorite time of the year. It's like Christmas for you. And right now it's the Warriors and the Grizzlies in round 2. And in that game too, Draymond Green, one of the more polarizing figures of the NBA, just because he plays tough defense and he says what he wants. Let's keep it real. Got elbowed in the eye there, had some stitches, I believe, and also potentially a concussion, but I don't think it went through that way. As he was leaving the court, of course, Memphis fans, they were against him there, were cheering for the blood running down his eye, and he flipped them off. And now everyone's asking, hey, what about that flicking people off? That's ridiculous. And he said just what you just saw there, which probably ruffled a few more feathers, specifically Mad Dog Russo. He's on ESPN, and he had this to say about Draymond's response to what they were talking about that you just saw.
I'll give you a large segment of older fans who have followed the NBA for 60 years, this is not a political scenario or a race situation, who have followed Wilt and grew up as a Knick fan, who loved Clyde and loved Reed and loved the Pearl.
I disagree with you on that. I'm not saying it's a race situation. I'm saying that the fans you're talking about, they talk about athletes that way, like you just talked about an athlete.
I think there's a lot. I think there's a large segment.
The people on Fox News talk about athletes that way.
Well,
that's my issue.
And Fox News
that's my issue. I don't actually care about the fans that watched Bob Cousy play or watched Wilt play. I don't care. I appreciate that they've been NBA fans that long, but I don't appreciate the undertone.
JJ Redick, former NBA player, does not appreciate those undertones because when I heard that live as I was driving as well, I was like, whoa. Mad Dog, I'm not sure if you understand what you're saying there. Now, JJ Redick had a few more things to say about this on a podcast after to clarify even further what he was trying to get to there. Let's watch that.
What he said in reference to Draymond was, shut up and play. And of course, we've all heard that in reference to athletes before.
Oh, yeah.
And, I do think there is a certain generation, I think it is a little bit generational, that certain people are uncomfortable with athletes being outspoken. But the undertones of that and the connotation of that we are meant strictly for your entertainment purposes, that we are to use our bodies strictly for your entertainment, and we are not allowed to be human and show emotion and talk. Like, I don't like that at all. And so I just, I could have went a little harder. I think I gently pushed back at Mad Dog.
Yeah, Rick, what do you think?
It was a good piece of video. There's one just quick quote that I want to read from Mad Dog Russo. When he said, Draymond's hard to root for, and specifically, shut up and play, will you please? America's tired of Draymond Green. I deal with him constantly. Be quiet and play. I can't root for him. Those days are over, brother. They are long freaking gone. And how I read into this as someone who's been in media for a while and did internships in 2 of the top 3 markets and seeing how the bacon is made, this sort of disc jockey, this sort of like loudmouth is decaying. And you saw it decay in real time. Another point that needs to be made, and I have like 2 more. The first is, we learned, this is not me saying it, it's factual, that Stephen A. Smith replaced Max Kellerman, got Max Kellerman off rather. I believe he had an interview with Hot 97 where he said, I didn't like it, I wanted a change, and he made the change. So it shows the power he has. So when Chris Mad Dog Russo is in that seat, that's because Stephen A. respects him and likes him. Now, Stephen A. did like toe the line of disagreeing while not going ham on Mad Dog, and like that's whatever. But to say that you're like over Draymond, and there are so many fans who are over him and don't like him, JJ Redick then rebuked that with, a great answer, which was, no, actually, he signed a talent deal with Turner. So you're gonna see him on Bleacher Report, you're gonna see him on Inside the NBA. That's kind of a big deal. He also has a podcast, which I looked up according to Chartable, is the 4th most listened to podcast in the sports category. So no one's over Draymond. It's just that this form of criticism is done. It's over. And last point, real quick. JJ Redick, I believed, by continuing to speak after he made the Fox News point, probably saved Mad Dog Russo. Because knowing where he was coming from, he was about to say, well, Fox News is, and he got cut off. I would have loved to have had him complete that sentence so I could know what exactly his opinion is. Because technically he's in the demographic and he did spew the same thing that Laura Ingraham did.
Sure did.
Of LeBron James and Kevin Durant when they were on a uninterrupted Uber deal that went out on YouTube and other social mediums when they criticized Donald Trump.
And you know what's happening? And before we jump to this break, because my last thought, because I saw also Brian Scalabrine, Frank Isola, they do a show also on Sirius XM. I listen to the NBA radio a lot on that. And all those personalities that talk about it, they circle the wagons around Mad Dog as well. Because people have been calling in and talking about, hey, whether he felt like he was doing that or not, he needs to be notified of the language that he's using and what it means. So he also talked about how his audience is 50 and 60 and 70-year-olds. Frank Isola was defending him and saying this. And you know who the same audience is? 50, 60, 70-year-olds who watch also Fox News in certain parts of the country. We know that. So if you understand that you're spewing these same lines and someone like JJ Redick has to tell you that, maybe listen for a second. Or when your audience tells you, hey, you're spewing these lines that people say about the stuff. Frank Isola, this really annoyed me yesterday. He was like, hey, we're not even gonna talk about politics. Racism is not political. It became political when politicians decided to use racism for their power structure.
Yes.
Racism is not a political issue. Racism is a societal issue. It has nothing to do with politics. We inject it into politics so we can divide each other and do things like what that idiot in that last ad did. Like, I'm gonna fire at black folks and protesters that support black folks because that's what we do in America. That's when it becomes political. It's societal.